I just want to take just a second here to introduce our presenter today. His name is Salvador, and some of you have probably talked to Salvador before. He offers great support. He started here at Taxware Systems as a technician, and he is now in the sales and marketing department. And he specializes in getting new clients set up. At one of our meetings recently, Salvador expressed a concern and a need to do this training specifically about extensions and backups and your acknowledgement files. And so this training, was basically created because we thought there was a need, and Salvador was passionate about it. So we're excited to have him be the presenter today, and we're grateful for him. And he's definitely one of the stars of Taxware Systems team, and we're grateful for him. And Salvador, I'm going to turn the time over to you. And once again, thank you all for joining us, and thank you.
Thank you. That was a great announcement and presentation presenting me here. I'm excited to go over this training regarding extensions, especially we're getting close to the deadline. Sometimes extensions are going to definitely be needed to help our clients avoid any penalties as well when it comes to the returns, even if it's half done or they still haven't shown up to the office. But yeah, we're going to be going over how to basically go over the extensions for the individual client, as well as a batch extension. So at that point, if you have quite a few clients that need extensions or getting close to that deadline that still need to be sent out, then at that point, this would be a great help to send them all out and avoid those penalties, as well as give yourself some a little bit more time overall for the to prepare the tax return. So again, my name is Salvador, and then we're going to be going over the extensions on the 1040. So let's go ahead and get to that. And let's see here. All right. So on the 1040 program, we're going to be going over the current clients individually. So right here, again, this is under the recall client. You would select a client that you currently are working on. Probably they still haven't received one last document, or they plan in unscheduled vacation, or something happens where they're not going to be able to come back and sign paperwork or turn in a documentation that's needed. At that point, you can always select an extension to assist you with that. So once you go into your client's return, you want to make sure, of course, the basic information is there, or any documentation you already have there, to at least kind of give yourself a head start. You would want to go into the forms and schedules. You can either go into the form search and type in the 4868 extension and double click there, or it's also available down here on number 31, automatic extension application. Going on here, this is where you're going to fill out the form itself, especially if in case if you do know that the client is going to owe money, or they want to send out a payment in case if they're not sure if they're going to owe or just get a refund. Then at that point, you can go ahead and also add this information there for a payment and their account number. So at the beginning, you're going to see an extension for calendar year of 2021, or the tax year beginning. So this is where you would fill that information out. If they have any carryover from the prior year, we're currently on there for the total tax liability for 2021. This is where you would enter that there, but it should automatically, it should be entered there if you're trying to override it from a carryover forward. You also do have the option there to enter any payments or credit additions to the 1040 for 2021. Line 4 is where you're gonna go ahead and add amount you are paying. So in case if you're gonna be submitting an amount, that is where you would enter the total amount of what you want to send to the IRS at that point. You want to make sure that these two questions are answered. If they do represent the client, then you want to make sure that they're checked. If they're not, then go ahead and just leave them blank. The next step here would be the electronic payment balance. So if you're gonna be sending out the extension with the payment, you want to make sure that this box is checked, as well as you have your routing number information, your account number information for where they're going to be withdrawing that amount, selecting the type, and of course the requested payment date for the extension. The daytime phone number should automatically carry over if you already have it on the basic information entered. If not, you can either always go back and enter it once you've entered it here, just to have it a reference. But it is if you already entered the number on the basic information, that would carry over as you see here. And then that's mostly in case if they need a contact or have some feedback regarding either an issue with the routing number or account number. Most likely they will get in contact at that point. But for the most part, once it goes through, you should have a acknowledgement accepted, which with the submission ID would be your receipt number, basically. So which we'll go over that, where to find that on the program. So once that's filled out, you'll see it on the forms and schedules used here. So at that point now it's added to the return. It's not completed on this end here, but for the most part, you'll start seeing it here on your listing. Once you filled out the form, you want to make sure you run the validation check, the validity check. And normally it's federal and state that's always being used to verify if there's any issues with the return, or if it's missing, or if it has like a incorrect number or spacing, or something is causing causing an issue that might get rejected. Next to those two, the 4868 will be available to run. That will tell you if you're missing any important information, something from the basic information that will be key for the federal to receive and acknowledge it and accept it, or reject it if it's missing something. So you want to make sure that you run that. Once the validity check is done and it's green, you want to go ahead and click on e-file. So from here on, normally you would go into printing out the 8879. And this, let's say here, like, let me go ahead and change these, yes. So normally on that, you would have these available for transmit. You can normally to send out a return, it would be the A to a e-file, but in this case, since it's a extension, you want to click the transmit 4868. That will submit your extension to the IRS, and then at that point there, you will receive a acknowledgement, normally like you would with the state and federal, which at that point you can go into e-file status, and you would see either awaiting acknowledgement for the 4868, which will have its own code here, just kind of like what the federal and states have. So you would have that. And your submission ID will be here as well. So at this point here, in case if for some reason later on in the road, the IRS is saying that they never received the extension and they're giving a penalty fee for the late return to your client. With this information, with this number, either the client can give that number to the IRS agent that's overlooking the return or dealing with the audit, or if the tax preparer is set as a third-party designee, then at that point, the tax preparer can give the submission ID to them, again, as a receipt that's used as a receipt code to make sure that it's not overlooked or it gets lost in the in the pool of returns. So that is definitely a key factor. Yeah, you want to make sure you keep that on hand in case of something like that would happen. So you have, so that's one way again to go over the individual return with an extension. You want to go into the return again, go in forms and schedules. You would scroll down or search for the 4868 and fill out the form from there on. Once you filled out the form, you want to go ahead and run the validation check for the 4868. And you'll know if you're running that or federal or state, because they would state it up here as well. So just in case if that gets overlooked or something it's getting rejected, if you go in, if you're seeing Fed instead of 4868, it's most likely because it hasn't been clicked on. Yeah, so you'll go there, e-file, and then once it's set to transmit, you can go ahead and transmit the 4868, and that would go ahead and send the extensions. So that's one part for the batch e-file. So if you're doing, let's say, client, you have quite a few clients in your current year, you don't want to go through each one at a time, fill that form, or just go through all that, all those steps. Especially if you have clients from prior year that still haven't shown up, but you are aware that they're going to be attending they're going to show up to the office to file their taxes, but unfortunately it's going to be close to the deadline or after the deadline. So to help them out, you would go into the batch e-file, and then line number 7, this is where you would transmit automatic extensions form 4868. You would click there. And from here on, this is where you would you have these options here. So the data path and database is going to be consisting of your current year and your prior year. So with this here allows you to select all the clients that are still pending that haven't been transmitted for the return. And then of course you can go ahead and set up the extensions. So you want to make sure you check them. Now, if you don't have any pending clients in your current year, then at that point you would just check the prior year. But for this test here, let's go here. We're going to go ahead and run that. So it should be a quick little flash. And at that point, that should create your client listing. So we're going to go here and select clients. From here on, most likely you'll have like a bigger list than what I have here, but for the most part, you'll get a listing of your prior year clients or your current year clients, a listing here, which you can always remove in case if they decide, okay, I'm going to show up today before you even submit this listing here, then of course you can remove that client from there. But in case if you have, let's say, quite a few clients, a couple hundred that need to be sent out, instead of having to check through each box, you can just go ahead and click include all for the ELF. And then at that point, let's see here. Let's see here. Let's make this bigger here. Alrighty. So let's actually make this a little bigger because it is a small listing. Okay, so with this here, you can either include all for the printouts to make sure that you have copies, physically copies of those. Or if you don't want to print them out, then at that point you wouldn't include them. You'll just uncheck them, or if it's certain ones, then you would manually just select the ones you want. But to submit all of them here, all the clients listings are going to be shown here. You would click, once you've done basically selecting the ones you want to send, you're going to go ahead and click that e-file 4868. And then that's going to transmit all of your extensions at that point. So from there on, all of them are going to be submitted. And you're basically going to go back into e-file status. Let me make this a little smaller. And again, you'll start seeing them show up as a waiting acknowledgement in yellow. and your submission ID will start to show here when it comes to the extension. And it's going to have the code as 4868 on here, so you'll know exactly if it's an extension or if it's a regular return. You'll know by that code there, just to avoid any kind of confusion there on there. Now, of course, you'll probably get, if there's a case where you'll get a reject on an extension, it's either due to missing information, or if someone already filed their return, or they've already submitted an extension somewhere else, that would be an option there, or something's going on with the SSN, with the taxpayer information. So those are usually the standard rejects that we've seen here. Again, either someone forgot that to go back to the office and then end up going to a different office, or they decided to do their own return. At that point, they might have already submitted their taxes. So just in case, if you do see some rejects, it's most likely because of those. But again, you can always give us a call and we can assist you with with that factor there. Okay, and again, for the batch e-file, you would just go here in the middle. You would go into line 7 here for the 4868 data path. And then you would select the paths you have. If you have multiple ones, you'll just kind of go through each one. Push OK. That creates the client listing. You'll select the clients. And from there on, you can select which clients are going to be sent out with the batch, or as well as if you want to print out the forms for them. And of course, with this here, since you're sending multiple, you don't have to go through the process of filing the 4868 individually, kind of like what you did with, or what we did right now with the earlier one. The only time I would see that be more important is if they're trying to send a payment, an advance payment for that, then you want to do that separately just to make sure that that gets sent out to them. Because in this matter, it basically just sends the extensions. If you're trying to do like an actual payment, chances are it's not going to do that. So if they're going to want to do an advance payment with their extension, then you want to do that separately to avoid any confusion or any issues later on in throughout the process. After that, you can print out your reports here. You can also have like a generated comparison client report here as well, to see what exactly what listing you have, just to kind of check mark them or have a physical list for yourself. And then after that, you would just check your e-file status to make sure that that all those clients are being sent, and you're seeing the waiting acknowledgement to see if they're going to get accepted or rejected. And of course, your submission ID, you want to make sure you keep that on hand in case if there is an issue throughout the line. Then at that point, you can fight the audit of that mistake or that issue of being penalized for a late return. They can submit that to prove that they did send out an extension before the deadline, and that will get fixed up. There is, our system does save a physical copy into the program itself on the program folder, but with the submission ID should be already enough, as well as when you print out your acknowledgement. If you want to save that acknowledgement there, you can save it as a PDF file, so which is a lot easier when it comes to having that documentation as a digital, and you can always print it out to have a physical copy. Once that's done, I usually recommend having a backup onto your system. You can find a backup setup here on our program through the miscellaneous features. Again, this is where I went here to the miscellaneous features. And you want to make sure that you already have a backup just in case if for some reason, even the extensions were sent, you want to make sure you save all your clients' information, or even before that, you should always, we recommend always having a backup in case if, let's say there's a power outage, and with that power outage, it fries the computer components, and then your hard drive is gone. So, or someone breaks into the office and destroys the workstations, and at that point you're out of luck. So any kind of issues such as technical wise, you want to make sure that you have your client information backed up into an external drive, or if you have it set up to like a share folder, then you want to make sure it's pointing to that location. Just one thing is, when it comes to the share folder, you want to make sure you're logged in to your account in order for it to see it. If not, then there's going to be some issues when it comes to backup. But usually a portable drive would be the best option, because at that point you can have it somewhere safe where no one is able to move it around, or there's a chance of it breaking. Definitely hard drive, portable drive would be something I would recommend. So you would set up the path here by clicking at this point here. That will open up your little window. Select you would want to select the folder where it's going to be stored. So let's say if this is my drive here, you would select there, click select folder. That will go ahead and set up the backup location there. And then in case if you want to make sure that it works, you want to click on view. That will open up the folder directly to where it's pointing to verify that it is linked to that specific folder, and that is where it's going to store your information. So you want to make sure that once you select the folder, you click on there, view, to make sure that that is confirmed. After that, you want to make sure if you want to run the backup, you can go ahead and click backup. That will start the process of backing up your information for your clients. And at that point, you should be all set. Now, there is also a backup schedule where you can add that to your daily routine. You can either have it set to daily, weekly, or monthly. Myself here, I have it set to daily. So anytime I close the program, it's going to remind me to back up the information there. You can also set up the next scheduled date on there. So I have it here for the 1st of April Fools. And so we have that set up there. You can always change it here to a different day, but usually I would recommend daily, because every day most likely you're going to be adding more clients, or there's going to be changes. So you want to have a backup to that. But if it's more of a weekly thing, then I would you can always change that. Now, of course, by having it like this, you're just going to back up your client's data. But if you want to include the PDF files for like a digital copy of the returns, if you're saving them, then you want to make sure you check this. Now, of course, with that being checked, the PDF files could be a lot larger, so they're going to most likely take up more space. So you want to make sure you have a drive, or where it's being stored, if it's like another let's say folder that's being linked up, then you want to make sure that has plenty of space, because the PDFs do take up most of the storage overall. So anywhere from, I usually would recommend starting from 1 terabyte, even 2 terabyte drives, and from up. They're honestly not too expensive now. But when it comes to PDF files, just keep in consideration that if it suddenly jumps from a small backup to something that's taking up a lot more space, it's going to be due to the PDFs on that. So just be aware of that. And then, of course, yeah, you can add multiple ones or remove them if you please from there. So you can always change it. It doesn't have to be one specific thing. So again, this is where you would go into set up your backup. You would go to miscellaneous features, You would select the location, the drive, where you're going to be saving your information. You want to view it to confirm that it is pointing to that same path. You want to run a backup just to test it out, or even just to make sure that gets done right away. And if you want to add a backup schedule, then at that point, you would just create your, you would add one there and then set it to what you're looking for. So in case if that is a little confusing, it's always welcome to give us a call, and we will definitely be happy to help you out with the setup. It doesn't take more than a couple minutes here to get you going. It's better be safe than sorry on this. So, again, yeah, we have that. So basically, again, this is just to kind of go over the extensions again. For the recall client, for the individual return, you would just go into your client itself, go into the forms and schedules once your basic information has been filled out or pulled from the prior year. Go into the automatic extension application, fill this out here if and what is necessary. Once that's done, go into the validation check, run the 4868. Once that's clear, go into the e-file, click transmit 4868. That will submit the extensions. And then for the batch e-file, that would go under the batch, line 7, 4868. Data path, 21 data, and then your prior year from 20. Okay. Select clients, select the ones that are going to be transmitted in the batch. Make sure these are all selected, or just click this if they're all going to go. And also if you want to include the prints with it, you want to make sure that that's also included. If you wish again to not include the prints, then you want to make sure you uncheck those, or just have them undo it in general. And then of course, I'm getting here a little lost. And then of course, e-file 4868 to start submitting the extensions as a batch. From there on, again, you do have reports you can print out from here. And then after that, you want to make sure you check your e-file status to make sure that they are being processed or transmitted. And of course, making sure that you will, once they get accepted, or if they have rejections, double check if what the issue is. If you need assistance, give us a call. We can definitely assist you with that. And then, of course, knowing where the submission ID is in case if something throughout the line, there's a confusion or mistake due to a late penalty submission that shouldn't be there. Then with the submission ID, if it was sent before the deadline and it was accepted, you can fight that, and that will be overturned there at that point. So your client doesn't get penalized, and then you're not having to hear the client say, well, what happened? So avoids headaches, right? So you have that there. And again, if you're not too sure, give us a call. We can assist you with locating the submission ID for that extension. So we have that. And again, this will be the same with if it's a federal that was accepted, or state, those usually will come with them on there. So that's your receipt. And yeah, and then the backup, again, it's under the miscellaneous features. You want to set up the location, confirm the location, make sure it's good, set up a backup, and the schedule at that point. So either in that's basically it. I think that's all we have to cover here, but let me see. Am I missing anything? What do you think, Mindy? Anything I'm missing here?
Yeah, I think you did a very thorough job. I know I took a couple notes, so thank you. And once again, we did record this, and we'll have it available to you as a resource to either review again or to share with your employees. So thank you so much, Salvador. I think we got all the questions answered. And just everybody hang in there. Tax season is wrapping up. And once again, we appreciate you and thank you for choosing Taxware Systems. Thank you.
Oh, really?